from gardening at Douentza here in Ireland, and it's the beginning of October, which is time to do something with our Ensete bananas that have done so wonderfully for us all summer with their big leaves. But this banana is quite tender, so now we have to think what we're going to do to protect it for winter. And today I am going to show you how to prepare this banana to store it dry over winter, and also discuss other ways of wintering the wonderful Ensete. Let's get on with the video. At this stage, you're probably considering what way you're going to overwinter your banana. Perhaps you're new to growing these bananas and you've seen various options out there. So just briefly, I'm going to run through what there is available to you. And the way that most of us start off by overwintering the Ensete banana is by bringing it into the house. Now, the advantage of bringing it into the house is that it can continue growing through the winter and you have a pretty plant on display through the winter to kind of cheer you up. But the downside is that you can't do that with very big specimens. Also, it will tend to bleed a bit, and by that I mean kind of ooze water, which can make a bit of a mess, and it tends to get aphids. When I brought mine into the house, I used to get aphids right there in the crown. It's certainly an option. The second way you might consider overwintering your bananas is what I have done mostly. And I have a greenhouse, a frost-free greenhouse that is kept at a 5-degree minimum in winter, and I have mostly overwintered my Ensete bananas in their pots in there. So I haven't unpotted them or anything, I've just brought them into the greenhouse and given them a little bit of water to keep them going over winter. And okay, so they ooze a bit of water and they don't seem to get green fly in the greenhouse. So they ooze a little bit of water, but it's not a big deal in that kind of greenhouse. And then in spring they get going again, and the advantage is that they have gotten used to cooler temperatures, so they haven't got very soft leaves. Now, the third way, and the one that we're going to do today, is to store this banana dry. And that means cutting off all of the foliage and the roots and kind of drying it out and storing it in a cellar or a dark attic, I guess, somewhere like that, where it can be kept between a temperature of 5 and 15 degrees over winter. And also it should be stored without any light. Now, I've done this a couple of times in the greenhouse and I'm going to show you how. So I guess without further ado, what we need to do with this banana is to just kind of pull it out of the pot. Already it's oozing water. I'm just going to give this a firm tug, and of course it doesn't want to come. So I am just going to, with my bread knife, which I'll need in a minute, just go around the edge of the pot and loosen it all up, and try that again. Now, actually, this is very difficult to get out, and I will just show you why. And if we turn this around, you can see that we have lots and lots of roots that have jollily grown and stuck out at the base of the pot. I am going to manhandle them out like this and not worry about ripping them, because actually with this method of storing bananas over winter, most of the roots will die anyway, and we will just rely on the plant making new roots again in spring, which it does really well. So, you know, if you ever manage to rot off the roots of your Ensete, do not fear, it can regrow them quite easily. Okay, so having done that, I will turn the banana a bit like this and try tugging it a little bit more. Okay, that's it. Okay, now having said all that, it just seems such a shame to discard such a nice root system, but we are going to overwinter this banana dry, so that's just what we have to do. I'm now going to take my bread knife and cut off some of the leaves. So with a knife in hand, and use a bread knife for this, I'm just going to cut off these leaves. It's quite a brutal operation, as you'll see. Not for the faint-hearted, or those who really love their plants, I suppose. But I guess you've got to be cruel to be kind. So just rotating this, bit of a brute, and just sawing off those once beautiful leaves. Oh, how cruel! And even here, the central bit, the growing point, we're just going to cut that across. Whoops! Okay, and now I'm just going to neaten it up a bit. Now, as you can see from this plant, if we squish the leaves here, can you see all that juice that's inside the plant? And this is what we're going to endeavour to get out. We're going to get as much of it out as we possibly can so that we can store this banana dry. And turning it round again, take a bit more off here. Okay, now we're going to do something with the roots. Okay, maybe if you come in closer. So now I'm just loosening as much soil as I can from off of this Ensete. And the next thing I need to do, after having removed a good lot of this earth, and this of course retains a lot of moisture, so by removing it we're helping dry out the banana. Do I hear you yell no? Well, yes. So we remove some of the roots, and like I said, don't worry about these roots because the plant is very capable and very able to regrow roots again in spring. And anyone who's been growing Ensetes for any number of years will recall the first time when they found that they'd somehow managed to rot off all their Ensete roots, and they were like, oh no, my beautiful banana, what am I going to do? But it is easy to get those roots to grow again, so it's not the end of the world. And just by doing this, I'm exposing all of this earth in here that would just serve to hold moisture and rot the banana over winter. See how that is right in there at the base, underneath the base of the plant, the meristem. I always find it really interesting how the essential part of any plant is quite different depending on which plant it is. And in some plants, if you wreck the roots, well, that's the end of them. In others, if you destroy the growing shoot, well, that's the end of it. But with the Ensete, it's this bit here where the meristem resides that is the essential element that holds the DNA of the plant and can regenerate. and anyone who has seen my propagation video will know all about that. And so this is what I'm left with after all my work. And the next step in this process is to store this plant upside down for 1 to 2 weeks so that all of the moisture can drain down and come out of the plant, and it can then be dry stored over winter. So you need a position where it's not going to go below 5 degrees, so no frost, and where it can stay dry. So outdoors is fine, under a table, as long as there's a roof on it, or the top of the table, you know what I mean. But in my case, I'm going to put this in the greenhouse, so let's do that now. And here is the place I am going to balance my Ensete for the next week or two, where it can drip down and dry out. You can store your banana for 6 months to 8 months in total. So when this one is dried out in 2 weeks, I'm going to put it somewhere dark. In my case, in the greenhouse with the pot completely over it so it emits the light. You of course can put it in a cellar or wherever else is handy for you. Hope you enjoyed this video, and just to remind you that this is the point where you would propagate this banana. So after it's dried out for 2 weeks, then you could propagate it as per my previous video, which I'll link to at the end. And if you're looking for something more from Gardening at Douentza channel, perhaps you'll consider memberships, which is a way to get extra perks, so you'll have access to specialised videos. At the moment I'm doing daily video clip updates of just gardening stuff and some other great perks as well, so perhaps you'll consider that if you're a proper geek. Okay, that's all for now. Bye!